It's time for our first annual State of the State, because we're in a state, not in a union, which is made up of multiple states, because we're in Colorado, which is a state. And we have 4 teams, and we're going to talk about the state of them. Dan, play our State of the State music. Welcome in to another episode of the Blucifer Brothers. I'm your host, Kyle Poland, joined as always by my brother, Ryan. Poland is his name as well, because we're related. We are talking Colorado sports, which we do every week. But this week, it's important, with 3 press conferences today. We had the Avs having a season wrap-up, the Nuggets having a season wrap-up, and the Broncos having a press conference post like rookie mini camp and OTAs. And the Rockies lost again, which is a press conference of sorts. We thought we'd do kind of a state of the state. It's not a union, but it is a state. And that state is Colorado. And we thought we'd see where the sports are, and to help keep ourselves kind of structured and on track, we're going to go through ownership, coaching, and roster. And we're going to give them each a letter grade and kind of go through briefly why we think that. And we're going to go Nuggets, Avs, Broncos, Rockies. That's kind of a general layout. Ryan, does that sound good to you?
It sounds great. I haven't announced anything, obviously, but I will be coming for Governor Polis's job, so I look forward to giving an actual State of the State speech here soon. But until then, I guess this will do.
I could not wait to hear your State of the State. And it's just about Denver sports. Like, people are like, what about the homelessness and the crime? And you're just like, so Christian Brown, as I was saying, Kyle Clark, before I was so rudely interrupted.
You're what's next, buddy. You're next.
Yeah. So let's get into it with the Nuggets. Let's start at the top. Ownership here. I am going to give the ownership a solid C-. I think that it was positive today.
This is the Nuggets.
Obviously,
correct.
Josh Kroenke said, when you have Jokic, you are in your championship window. We are willing to spend. We are willing to do that. They have not shown to being willing to spend on a practice facility. They, for the longest time, were not willing to spend on their own G League team. They were notoriously have been cheap about allowing fans of Colorado to watch this team. I think the Kroenkes are going to be giving the exact same amount of effort once Nikola Jokic is gone, and that is going to show. And I think that it's helpful that Josh really loves basketball, and so it won't become totally forgotten. But this was not a well-run team under the Kroenkes for a large portion. And I think they've just kind of been douchey throughout the whole process. I think they trust Calvin Booth, so I like that. I don't want a Jerry Jones owner, which is going to be kind of a theme in my ownership. You don't see them making big statements or being, like the center of attention type thing.
They stay out of the news. They do a good job of that. They're not typically saying anything dumb, and that's actually very. It's an interesting point with the Kroenkes that we can just talk about in general. They're very influential in these leagues. That guy literally built the NFL facility next to the Rams. So, it's not just the NBA. they are very influential. When Stan Kroenke says something in these owners meetings, like other owners listen. So I do think that can't be underestimated, but I do agree with you in general that for our entire lifetime, they've been cheap as hell. Like they have not been invested in the grade in the team. I personally am going to give them a B. And this is a lot like a B that I would get in high school. You don't deserve it, but you got lucky and you're pretty talented at one thing. You know, you got Nikola Jokic, so you're going to get a B. So I agree with everything that you said. I don't really disagree with anything. I'm just more lenient on them because we have a banner hanging in the rafters. So they get a pass on my front.
All right. Let's move into coaching. So
it's a tough time to ask this question.
We have the first time where Mike Malone, he only got a year, and now we have him, to his credit, he kind of jumped in front of the bus. He was like, he's like, I thought we looked dog tired at the end in the second half of Game 7. And he's like, I think that's why we lost. And he's like, could you put that on me pushing the team too much during the regular season? He's like, absolutely. He's like, and that's on me. He's like, and I should have tried to integrate the rookies more and try to get them on the same page with the starters, and I didn't do a good enough job with that.
What's your grade?
I love his accountability. I love his in-game adjustments. I don't think Peyton Watson was ready for that Timberwolves series. I'm giving him a solid A-. I think he is absolutely perfect for Jokic, and it can't be understated because Jokic is never going to light anybody up. And we talked about it during the championship run. He's kind of the swag and kind of the shit talker and the hard and the brass.
Where was it then?
What do you mean?
I mean, the swag was exactly what we were missing. Where was it then?
I don't think we were missing swag. I think we were missing legs.
No.
Which I think he took accountability for, but I think that's going to be today's NBA.
Anthony Edwards punked us in a Game 7 on our own. Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert punked us in a Game 7 on our own floor.
Anthony Edwards played like crap.
I'm not here to listen. I think that Michael Malone is a very good basketball coach. I think he's excellent at most of the things you have to be really good at to be a good NBA coach, which is mostly managing a locker room. Like your in-game adjustments, like those things happen obviously, but he literally has a bench full of assistants that mostly do that stuff. So he is there sort of as a figurehead, people managing, and he's good at that. But with this roster, I don't think that you can excuse and walk away from the fact that he played Justin Holiday as much as he did and didn't give Peyton Watson any minutes. Like, if Peyton Watson is the future, which he seemingly is, of like that role playing situation, then you have to be able to give those people actual minutes in games that matter. And I just don't understand that. Well, I'm being a little prisoner of the moment because I don't understand getting picked apart in the second half like you were in that Minnesota series and not looking at Peyton Watson on the bench at home and saying, maybe I give this guy 5 minutes to run around out there and maybe get a block. Like, we needed anything. We needed energy, and he just didn't look at it. So I'm going to give him a C+. I just don't know if his the management is where it needs to be. I honestly think.
Excuse me, everyone. We're gonna pause the podcast. Ryan is down in Denver in his lovely new home. I am here with Dan, but I need to get in a car and go down there and fight Ryan because he just gave Kroenke a B. And said, you have Jokic. That's good. You know who Jokic fucking loves? Mike Malone. The lowest is a B based off your grading system.
That doesn't mean he's a good
coach. That doesn't mean Kroenke's a good owner. But you gave him a B.
He's the owner is the person
Ryan
who
was
said,
like, I don't
we
like
can
watching
draft
the games
Nikola
anyway.
Jokic. I'm just saying, like, Kroenke has such little to do with any of the day-to-day that it's hard to judge him on anything other than the result. And the result was a championship last year.
Maybe our guys'
Michael
legs
Malone.
wouldn't have been
Hold
so
on.
tired
Hey,
if we had a
shut up.
fucking practice facility.
Oh my God. It's just like, it's the same shit. Who cares? It does not matter if they have a practice facility. What does matter is, can the coach actually make an adjustment during a series? Or is it the player? Is it the fact that he has the best player that we've maybe ever seen? Well, we've definitely ever seen. But he's probably a top 5 player in the NBA who is a court general. And you're telling me that you're going to give his coach credit for Nikola liking him? If you're Nikola Jokic, isn't the whole point of Michael Malone's existence to get the fuck out of your way?
Oh, there's a lot of coaches who don't do well with Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, sure. But it doesn't mean he's a good coach. You're talking about two different things. I'm saying he's a great people manager, and you're saying he's a great coach. Which you said
was most of being an NBA coach.
Yeah, but I don't think he managed the people well.
Who?
Did he? Do you think that we managed the playoffs well?
I don't think that any coach makes a difference.
I disagree.
Justin Holiday didn't play bad. We're not going to scapegoat
I'm not saying
Justin
he did.
Holiday.
No, I'm not saying he did. I'm just saying you can't, when your back's against the wall like that, it's not like Peyton Watson wasn't playing. Like, the guy played consistent minutes all year and then sat the bench.
For Minnesota.
When what we needed was somebody long and somebody to bother shots. And
we needed strength.
I'm not disagreeing with you that yes, Peyton Watson has weaknesses. I'm just saying, like, when you're in that situation, you need to be, I just think that his mindset of, I don't trust this young guy, fuck this young guy, I can't play him, I don't trust him, I don't trust him, I don't trust him, has bitten us many times. We used to be furious when he wouldn't play MPJ. Like, this is not it's not like I'm bringing up something because of this season. Like, I've always been frustrated by his rotations. I've always been frustrated by the fact that he didn't trust people. He didn't trust Christian Braun last year. He didn't play him for essentially the whole first half of the season and then gave him minutes towards the end. And then Christian earned those minutes in the playoffs where he gave him chances. Did Peyton Watson get those chances? I don't think he did. I don't think he got the same shake that Christian Braun did. And I do think that Malone is to blame somewhat for that.
I think he did get those chances, and I do think Peyton Watson was the leak to Gilbert Arenas. And I think that's why we didn't see him. That's my conspiracy theory take. And every time that I've questioned a Malone rotation, I remember sitting in the stands with you and being like, this is absolute BS. Why are we not playing MPJ more? And then MPJ came out and was like, oh, I'm actually really banged up. I appreciate Malone letting me heal.
I was about to say,
thank you. And he stepped in front of it.
I was about to say, the Malone's saving grace. I'm definitely being hard on Malone. I'm not disagreeing with you there. But his only saving grace is potentially that there's an injury that we just don't know about. Like, because it was that weird that it's like, really
also Peyton Watson got shit on by Anthony Edwards when he played.
I wouldn't have put him on Ant. Put him on
agree,
Cat.
But I'm just saying Justin Holiday came in and cashed threes, and Peyton Watson wasn't doing that.
No.
And if you can't put Peyton Watson on...
Listen, you can't be lecturing me about benching Justin Holiday. I said at the beginning of the year that he was going to be one of our most important playoff pieces, so don't come at me about my Justin Holiday.
I'm
not saying... I'm saying take Reggie's minutes. Take Reggie's minutes. I'm not worried about the rotations. They were big as hell.
Reggie didn't play.
I'm just saying, like, take anybody's minutes. It doesn't matter. I'd take Mike's minutes in Game 7. Sit his ass down. Like, I am not, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, there are lineups that you can play both of them together. And I think in that series, you kind of needed it. When McDaniels is busting your ass and Cat is busting your ass and you need to be switchable onto Ant, like, maybe you need the long defender who's sitting on your fucking bench, who averaged a block and a half a game when he got more than 10 minutes. Like, what are we doing? Maybe that might be a good
stuff
thing.
From the locker room after Jokic gives you commercials, and we'll play you more, Peyton. How about that? I also think that he was handcuffed by Strother's injury. They talked about it today. They said it was more of an MRI or a MCL strain, which is like a little bit more serious and a little bit more dicey. Because I think Strother was the guy we needed. Did you just say
Strother?
Yeah, Strother was the guy we needed. Because Strother was cooking early season.
Are you crazy?
Okay, let's just transition into the roster.
Well, we're talking about it already. Yeah. But like, what do you mean Strother?
For Malone? Have I talked you up to a C+? Can I get a C+, Ryan?
Well, yeah, it was a C+ to begin with.
Okay.
I did really want to give him the same grade as the owners, but it felt boring.
Just give him the same grade.
I think they both get a B. Sure.
Okay.
I mean,
we don't need to Evan Turner it up here. You know, just say stuff for attention.
But I think they got lucky. I think Malone, if you give Malone a non-Nikola Jokic roster, he's not doing shit with it. We have evidence.
Yeah,
he had a decent roster in Sacramento
because we have Nikola Jokic.
But he was a coach in Sacramento.
Yeah, and all the players loved him. Rudy Gay just went on and talked about he re-signed to play for Malone. And
doesn't mean he's a good coach.
He was good.
That doesn't mean he's a good coach.
In the right direction.
It actually might mean the opposite. It might mean the opposite if that many players like you.
I think
I'm just saying, not everybody's leaving Miami. Not everybody's leaving Miami and San Antonio and singing Popovich and Spoelstra's praises. Like, some people have a bad time there.
Yeah. I mean, I just think right now the Denver thing is new enough. And it's not like we are a destination in the way that San Antonio and Miami were. But let's get into the roster.
San Antonio, a destination. I hope San Antonio fans listen. Well, big old limited San Antonio.
Texas, no state income. And you can't deny with Duncan, Manu, and Tony, they got a lot of role players then. It's a different financial situation than it is now. As far as like you could be a middle player and make middle money. Whereas now it's like you either make an absolute shit ton or nothing. Thanks, Chris Paul. But yeah. As far as our roster, I give our roster, I'm going to give it a B+. I think our starters, when healthy, are still unbelievable and can still figure a lot of things out. I think you talked about avoiding the prisoner of the moment. I think you can't judge Jamal Murray based off the fact that he got locked up for long stretches on one leg. Yeah. Like, that's him on one leg.
By the best defensive team in the NBA.
Right. Like, KCP was clearly very hurt in this series. And then I think the thing that keeps me from rating it higher is really Reggie Jackson. I understand that we got him, and the reason we got him last year was because there was obviously a wink-wink deal with his agent that says we're going to re-sign you. We're going to guarantee that we're going to do that because there's absolutely no reason after the performance he had last year, admittedly in a hard, situation coming in late in the season, to pay him money and not Jeff Green. There's no reason to do that. So,
unless you think Peyton Watson is going to be really good.
That absolutely killed us. And I do think there was a little bit of the Calvin Booth playing money ball where he was like, I'm going to trade away the veteran. You have to play the young guy.
Yeah.
And
No.
Malone said, bet I won't. But
Well, in the playoffs at least. He said,
Reggie
Justin,
Jackson,
sit on the bench. Sit on the bench for the whole regular season.
Yeah. Reggie Jackson absolutely killed us. And that's not Reggie Jackson's fault. Reggie Jackson is an older point guard. He's a smaller point guard. Everything in the history of the NBA has said that those guys don't age well. We saw it even with Lillard this year in the Bucks. He is obviously much better than Reggie ever was, but Reggie was never going to be the microwave cooker that we needed off that bench. And if he's not that, to me, that's the miscalculation you made with this roster, and that's where you need to improve the most.
I 100% agree with you. I give the roster an A- because Nikola Jokic is such an A+++++++++ that it just doesn't matter. But,
and Jamal Murray and him's fit is beautiful and fun to watch.
I don't talk about Jamal Murray right now, but the backup point guard Reggie Jackson problem is really an interesting one, because I agree with you that we need scoring off the bench unit, but I actually think that it's there. And Reggie was trying to be that microwave scorer. Like, he thought he needed to create that on his own, when really we create that when that bench unit starts rolling, they play a very similar style to the starters. They just do it worse because Nikola's not on the floor. So, like, the ball pops and it moves and they're cutting a lot. Like, that was not the offense when Reggie Jackson had the ball. It was like, he dribbles down, he drives, then he kicks out to the corner. It's like the Earl Boykins offense. Like, it just didn't work. And obviously, like, he's on the tail end of his career, and it is what it is, but it's definitely the part of the roster that needs the most improvement. I also think when we go back to the prisoner of the moment thing, like, everybody's talking about backup center, and I agree we need a serviceable backup center. Like, we can't pay DJ to literally not play and not even be able to play in these against it, essentially, like, the one matchup where we would need DJ to play, he couldn't play. So that's kind of not great news. But I also think, like, when I'm looking at this next series, when I watch that first game of the Mavs series, I'm looking at that like, what is that big man going to do that we're hypothetically paying when we face the Mavs? Like, it's really, we're talking about that big man for one team and one matchup. And I agree, like, we just need somebody serviceable where Nikola could take a night off and literally not play and we could be fine. But I do think we, to me, and I don't want to get too much into this because I don't know enough about this draft class, but to me, it's almost worth spending a draft pick on one of these just huge guys and be like, you're going to run out there for 5 minutes and play some defense. Like, have fun, buddy. This is going to be fine for you. And as opposed to going out in the free agent market and sort of like overpaying for that would worry me, I think. If we go out and get somebody overqualified, I don't like that.
No, they're not going to be happy, one. And two, I agree with you. If you can get at either one of those positions, if you can get someone on the cheap, I've seen Andre Drummond floated a lot, then sure, right? But if not, I agree with you. You go young, you let him learn under him, and we've seen that a lot looking at the Mavs. They just have young, athletic bodies out there, and they say, Luka's going to put you in a good spot to do stuff, and I would rather spend money on a veteran guard than a veteran center.
And I think they're easier to find, honestly.
Yeah. Like,
that's crazy to say, but like, we could go pick up Monte Morris from the Wolves right now. Like, he doesn't play for them. Like, I would have liked Monte more than I like Reggie.
100%.
That's weird to say because I think Monte is a way less talented player at both of their peaks, but he fits our system much better. So,
yeah. So I think we're both in agreement. we need a bench that can eat more minutes during the regular season, and we need guys who are an option to play 5 minutes. And that's the improvement. And then you hope you get injury luck, and you hope those things. And
so
part of this, the era of NBA we're in.
Yes, totally. And I think part of this really does boil down to just the fact that, like, at a certain point, that's just aging into the NBA. Like, our guys just get a year older, and you get a lot better in that next year. And like, Peyton Watson is going to be better than he was this next year than he was last year. That's just hopefully the natural progression of really talented players. So I think it's an interesting time, because I actually think this offseason is sort of underrated in terms of how important it is. Like, I think the status of the dynasty may depend on this offseason. In terms
and
of,
I wanted to say that I think it's a theme that I took from the Avs runs and the Nuggets runs, is it almost makes you appreciate the magic of those championship years for both teams more, because you realize you're like, hey, we had moments this year that were unbelievable, but I don't think we ever fully felt it the same way for both teams. In the way that when the Avs won the cup, I was like, we're winning the cup. I was like, we are winning the cup. I don't care about the slump. I don't care about anything. When we lock in, we're winning the cup. And same thing for the Nuggets. I was like, Nuggets, it was harder because I have so much history of failure. But it was still like,
Nug life is always hard to get over.
Yeah, we're going to win.
It's a lifelong disease, trust me.
Oh, it is. But so it almost makes me appreciate the magic that it almost takes, as far as you need some breaks, you need to stay healthy, you need to not do drugs in your hotel room right before game 6. You just, small things that come up.
If I can't say that. I was about to defend Val.
Oh my. But
he was playing
I guess
so well.
To close,
why not celebrate, I guess, Yeah.
You're not wrong. But I guess to close here, I still feel the best if you told me a Colorado team is going to win a championship in 5 years and it's only one of them, I would pick the Nuggets.
I was texting with a friend of the pod today, Des. Shout out Des, loyal listener. We'll see if she actually is, and she'll text me if she hears
about this.
Yeah. But I said today, like, it's hard for me to get too pissed off at the Nuggets, because I do feel like this was really, like, it was such high level basketball. It felt a lot like a final series, honestly. So I think, it's disappointing, obviously, and I'm not happy about it, but it is also like, if you would have told us when we got those season tickets however many years ago that we would have one banner, we would have taken it. Like,
in a whole heartbeat.
I was texting with another friend of the pod, Scott, today, and I was like, I'm greedy. Like, I'm pissed off because I'm greedy. Now I want more. And he said, you've always been that way. So, yeah.
Shout out, Scott. All right. Let's move into our second team. And I think this team is the second most likely and in the second best spot, the Colorado Avalanche. Ownership, I would give them the same grade here. I think not a whole lot to talk about. They're owned by the same team or same people. I think that the Rockies have shown the same amount of interest, except that Josh doesn't like the hockey as much as basketball.
I was going to say
slightly worse spot. I would give them a D plus.
Yeah, yeah, sure. That sounds good to me. I think the Avs are, it's a slightly lower grade for me, because if they're going to make cuts, if they're going to get cheap on us, they're going to get cheap on the Avs, because Josh loves basketball. Like, I listened to him go on Michael Porter Jr.'s podcast, and he loves basketball. So
Yep.
they're going to get cheap on the Avs if they do. And obviously the NHL is just it's a less valued league. So makes sense for them to do that. But it does suck if you're an Avs fan.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into coaching.
Also altitude. Like, we can't bring that up enough when we talk about the Broncos. They suck. They're just terrible.
Yeah. All right, coaching. So
you're not going to get me to say anything bad about Jared. He is the most handsome man in the world. He's an A plus. He's an A plus.
Coaching C minus.
Oh no!
Yes.
You are no. How are
Ryan,
we flipped like this?
This is what's wild to me. Allow me to make my case, and then you can come in and you can end us on a more positive note here.
I honestly think I might have to mute you because I'm worried that this is going to be a How I Met Your Mother moment when the glass shatters and like the attractiveness has been clouding my vision of his actual coaching prowess. And I don't need that to be ruined. It's really the only positive part about this Colorado sports team right now is just looking at Jared.
So it's kind of like what you were saying about Malone, except it's McKinnon and McCarr. When is my guy just schemed up or like fired up a second line or a fourth line? And it just kind of appears like he's like, well, we have McCarr and McKinnon, so they're pretty good. Like, we talked about it going into Game 6, and I was like, we can't get McKinnon loose. We can't get him going. That's on a coach. That's on a coach to either you come out in a press conference, and because I do think McKinnon is the kind of guy that you can talk stuff to, and he'll be like, I'll take that. And I will fire me up. Like, I think it's okay to say, heading into Game 6, you go, well, Nathan McKinnon's probably been about the third or fourth best player in the series, and we're going to have a tough time if he's the third or fourth best player. And then McKinnon comes out with his hair on fire in Game 6. He flips you off the whole game, probably. But that's kind of your job as the coach, to your point. I just don't think...
You don't think Malone could have done that with Murray?
No, I think MPJ? Murray's leg was screwed. So I just don't think that he makes people better than what they would be otherwise. And he is the perfect kind of player's coach in terms of he never gets too high, he never gets too low, right? Like, I can't even picture him giving a Mike Malone press conference where Mike Malone was like, well, we aren't playing championship basketball. Like, he said that multiple times during the playoffs. He was pissed during the Lakers season, like series sometimes. And he will call guys out and he'll say, hey, you know what? This wasn't good enough tonight. And I was pissed. And you see him rage timeout and we laugh about it in our section. I never see him just being like, well, you know what? McKinnon sucked tonight. McCarr sucked tonight. And so the team's probably going to follow those two guys. So,
that's just
when they play like a bunch of pansies.
Culture, though. That's like nobody in hockey really does that. It's all the boys in the locker room, man, we just stuck together and it's all next man up. And if you don't say us 8 times, it doesn't really count as a press conference. And you don't,
I'm not saying there's not positives to being a even keeled kind of just like, hey, we don't need to panic. We don't need to do whatever. But because there are some times where Mike Malone...
Have you thought about how calming it would be to just look into his eyes?
No. Listen, I just don't think he adds a lot at this point. And I can't think of a game that I go, he won that for us. Either he got the guys fired up or he got in the the officials or he gotten that. You know, like he made a line change. He made a good adjustment. I can't think of one. And I think this team needs more than that.
I can't imagine needing more than Jared. So we'll agree to disagree.
What's your grade for Jared?
A+. I already gave it.
Oh, my God. I thought you were mean. That's patently ridiculous. All right, let's get into the roster. I can't go lower than a B for a roster that has McKinnon and McCarr on it.
Two literally maybe top
generational talents.
Yeah.
I will say, unless they change that rule, Sakic should start cheating. Do what the Lightning do. Do what the Knights did. Start cheating. Put those guys on injured reserve. Sign guys in. Head into the playoffs heavy. I think we've also been a little too focused on finding guys to fit in with our top lines rather than just saying, hey, this guy can run a third line. And I didn't feel at any point during this playoffs like, we're really threatening out there with this second or third line. And I brought it up during the season. I was concerned about it all season. So that to me is where we need to improve. The beauty of having generational talents isn't putting all the pieces around them. It's that you go, hey, we can put 3 decent skaters around those 2 guys, and that line's going to score because they are going to score. And we can thus use more capital to be deeper and to just wear you and grind you. And now all of a sudden, if you don't have a ton of defensemen, you have to run them longer against the second, and they don't get to rest. So now McKinnon's speed is coming down at you. Now McCarr is coming at you. And you don't just get to be fresh because you were like, well, we had Joe fucking Schmo over here, and so I could sleep when McKinnon was off the ice, right? So depth to me is the answer here. And kind of looking at lower down the lines and guys who are kind of coming in with the attitude. It felt like on the Stanley Cup team, those third and fourth line guys, I feel like they got in fights with the first and second line guys in practice. And they were like, pussy. Like they were like, we'll score on you. I don't give a shit. Like, and that makes teams better.
Yeah, I think you're spot on in terms of like that top line doesn't need anything. Like you could put you and I skating with McCarr and McKinnon, and we'd probably score a goal. Like we're not going to make it to the blue line, but
no. And I will die the first check I take. They'll be like, well, the homicide really brought the new down.
I'm not taking a check. I'm laying down before a check comes. Like, I'm not. That's crazy talk.
McCarr, was it distracting when you heard Kyle and Ryan crying?
We're waving to the bench. Like, come on.
Fucking granny style skating.
They're like, it's the first time that anybody has ever missed 8 shifts in a row in a hockey game. They seem to just be weeping.
Openly weeping.
But I want a line. I want physicality. This team needs physicality. And I think you find that on those third and fourth line guys. You need somebody. It's not even that the top line isn't physical, because they are, but it's not really with their bodies. They're just so fast that they just can skate with you for the entire length of the rink. Like it's not they're putting a lot of pressure on you, but it's not physical pressure. I want somebody to go lean on a motherfucker in front of the net for 6 minutes of real time for those back two lines.
Well, and to be able to hold the puck in. How many times did it feel like the puck was in our end all the time against the Stars? And not necessarily super threatening, but just you couldn't get it out. And that's how the Avs used to feel, where it was just like you're under pressure all the time.
when you look at these teams too, they're just bigger than us. Like a lot of these lines are just straight up physically bigger than us. So I think that's the type of depth I'd be looking to add. But
Joe
the
Sakic,
roster's fine.
Great general manager, needs to bring in Claude Lemieux as a consultant for the third and fourth lines. He'll be like, Claude, who do you like? Claude will be like, oh, this guy's going to dig a puck out in the corner. Yeah. Sakic can find a skater and a really skilled player. Claude will find a guy who will drop gloves and who's willing to die to hold a puck in with 17 minutes left in the second period of a Tuesday game in February.
He's going to take that blocked shot off the skate and skate with his cracked ankle for 5.5 minutes of ice time. Yeah.
Yep. What's your overall grade for the roster? I'm giving it a B.
I'll go B+.
Yeah, that feels fair.
Kale is so good. They're so fun to
good.
watch too. Like when that top line is humming. Oh, we also didn't mention in this whole thing that we haven't had our captain who's been on our payroll this entire time and probably is never going to play competitive hockey again. I think he has a press conference coming up.
No, he went out today and he said if he was going to retire, he would have dressed nicer. So the saga continues. We still will pay him.
Yeah, I mean that's brutal. Like that is a huge burden right now. So it's honestly pretty incredible that the team looks as good as they do with that salary cap being what it is. Yeah. And it's not really his fault. I'm not blaming Gabe.
No.
I hope he comes back and proves me wrong.
Yeah. For sure. All right. Let's move along. We've got the Broncos up next, who are the third most likely to win a championship only because we have the Rockies, not because they're close. I'm interested. This to me is the most interesting ownership group. I think I'm going to give them a B+. I think they're the best ownership group because they're insanely rich. I haven't heard him say anything exceptionally wild. Like, they don't go on a weekly hit with Schlereth and Evans talking about the starting quarterback, a la Jerry Jones. And they're not actively a human pile of excrement like Dan Snyder. So I think that's good. And I think that they've invested in obviously facilities, they've paid Peyton, who I think is a good mind still. Not George, to be clear, Sean. I give them that, and that's kind of all I can do.
No, give me a break.
Okay.
I honestly, I think I'm the most frustrated by this ownership group. I haven't decided if it's going to be a C- or a D+. But they paid Russell Wilson sight unseen immediately after they took over the team without him playing a single game. They gave him that contract in training camp, which was this ownership group.
That was the general manager, though.
Then they got cucked by I'm bringing him up next. They got cucked by the brain of Pat Bolin by retaining the guy that the previous ownership group had, George Payton. They retained him after they took over the team. And so this whole Russell Wilson saga, they don't get out of that. That was under their watch. Like, you made this team what it is right now. And so you don't get a pass on that. I don't care how rich you are. I don't care how nice you seem. First of all, you got rich from Walmart. So like that seems like a bad place to get rich from.
But that's pretty much every owner.
Also, Condoleezza Rice is a war criminal. And we might need to cut that.
And Lewis Hamilton hasn't won a race in years.
Yeah. So I just don't know if I just don't think that they should get a pass here. I think that they have spent money where they have made mistakes. But that is honestly, it's Monfort behavior. Like the Monforts spend money. They just do it incredibly poorly. So until you can prove to me that you're spending money on the right things, I'm not going to give you a good grade here.
You've talked me into lowering it because you are correct. I don't think that the Russell Wilson signing is on them, but I think retaining George Payton after that and allowing him to draft this year and do the trade deadline and then keeping him right now, I think that's inexcusable.
We're going to get Bo Nix. Like, Bo Nix is on their head now.
Yeah. And I think that's okay. You've
that's
talked me into it. I'm lowering
That's a
it.
hiring because we thought we were going to get Aaron Rodgers.
C for me. Final for you, C- or D+?
I'm going to go D+. Okay. Just because I hate Russell Wilson so much.
Yeah. All right. Coach. Man. Mixed bag here. Sean, I think, had some moments during the season where I was like, wow, he is really making pie out of poo here. But I do think he has a huge ego. I think he has proved to be maybe not the best. Maybe could take a page out of Mike Malone's book as far as dealing with players here in Denver.
Or out of Jared's book, honestly.
Yeah.
He just needs to chill. Like, do less.
That is true. A Jared Bednar press conference from Sean Payton would not hurt him. I thought he did a good job today. He said, hey, Cortland Sutton's a worker. I know he's a great player. He's a great leader, so I'm not worried about that, right? Like, don't throw gasoline on that. Don't do any of that. But there were too many times where he was trying to make himself the main character. Be it before the season when he was just crapping on Nathaniel Hackett. Be it when he was lighting up, the team and everyone and taking no accountability for his own mistakes and being a coward for some of the losses. So schematically, I would give Peyton like a B+. Management-wise and like locker room, C. So I'm going to go B-. B- for Peyton. I think I do think there's a chance that if this Bo Nix thing goes a little sideways, I think there's a chance we see some real ugly, curt, Napoleon Bonaparte little guy stuff. And that's the worst case scenario because you are paying him so much money and you've given him so much power. We talked about it after the draft. Drafting Bo Nix is saying Sean Payton is running this for all intents and purposes. Yeah. He's the most powerful person in the room as far as the ownership hierarchy goes. So I'd give him a B-. What do you think?
I can't believe you're going to give him a B- after he drafted Bo Nix.
Yeah. It's just I haven't seen enough. I hate Bo Nix.
Yeah, and while you were talking, I was almost tempted to give him an incomplete because I just feel like that roster was so bad. And all the arrogant stuff makes me mad when you're losing. But if they win a bunch of games, it's going to be really fun when he goes out and talks shit to everybody.
Yeah.
So I'm tempted by an incomplete.
It's weird
if
to
I
say,
had to give him, but if I had to give him a grade,
the shortest
it would be really
coach.
Low. Yeah, I mean, if I had to give him one, I'd probably give him a C-.
Okay,
because I just don't think that Bo Nix decision was good, and I think the way that he handled last season was terrible. And that's partly just his personality, and I think he was doing it on purpose. Like
I do think he hated
everybody
Russell
when
Wilson.
that preseason stuff came out was like, I know Sean Payton, and Sean Payton does not do anything by accident. So he knew exactly what he was doing when he said that shit to USA Today. Like he knew what he was doing. So, but it didn't work. So I guess it did work. And if his goal was to lose a bunch of money and lose a bunch of games and make Russell Wilson disappear, but
yeah, I don't hate your point of like the incomplete as far as like, it was so obvious he did not believe in Russell Wilson and openly hated him that, like,
it makes me like him more.
Yeah, I was surprised you were so low on him, but I don't think we've seen the best.
He was just
of
such
Sean
an
Payton.
asshole about it.
Yeah,
like he had some Lance Armstrong behavior while he was doping there, where it was like, do you have to say that? Like, Jesus, dude. Like, we all know you are getting away with some heinous things behind the scenes here, but like, you don't have to tell us that we're wrong when we know we're right. Like, you don't have to get mad at us for asking questions about whether you hate Russell Wilson when you definitely hate Russell Wilson.
When you wear a
what do you
t-shirt
want
that
us to
says,
talk about?
I hate Russell Wilson, I think it's reasonable to ask about your t-shirt.
When Lance Armstrong is riding away from the most doped up Peloton in world history and he's getting upset that people are asking him if he's doing drugs, it's like, well, I mean, you did do the things, so I don't know, Sean. Like, I don't know what you want me to say.
All right, roster. This is, I would give this roster an F, but I'm reserving that for the Rockies in a sneak preview. And they're just having Pat Surtain on this roster makes it better than the Rockies. So I'm going to give it a D-. Okay. They have gotten rid of a lot of good players. We still have Garrett Bowles. We have Bo Nix. I saw it today, and I unironically started laughing so that I didn't start crying because Ryan Edwards, who, God bless him, he does a great job. I interned under him at the Fan. He's a good guy. He's at KOA now, so he's just reporting on the quarterback situation, and he was doing it in an irony-free, very straight reporter way. But he was like, I thought Bo Nix overall was good. He did have some missed throws, but I thought he was overall good. Zach Wilson was the most erratic of the three. And he's like, Stidham made some great checkdowns. I'm like, oh, Jesus. Like, it was the funniest breakdown of just like the three stooges that we're going to have. I think that's what we should call them. And throughout training camp, we should just, Dan, get the Three Stooges music so we can just get a yeah. Yep. There's Zach out there today. Oh, he was really getting after it.
I threw some good messes today, girly.
Yeah, it's like they're both trying to kick each other in the butt, poke each other in the eyes. It'd be so funny if we weren't trying to win games. So yeah,
we're not trying to win games.
Well, I want us to win games.
I'm giving this roster an F. I don't actually think that this roster is better than the Rockies roster. They're just more games of the Rockies, so we're inundated by the suck all the time. We're not inundated by the suck of the Broncos for as long of a time.
Okay, but
so I think
Pat Surtain is the best at his position. There is absolutely no one on the Rockies who is the best at their position.
But there are
not even top 10
players on the roster of the Broncos. Like if we go top to bottom, the bottom player on the the active roster for the Broncos is way worse than the bottom player for the Rockies on their roster.
Drew Sanders tearing his ACL is also just objectively terrible. After we traded away our one milk check to get him more reps. So now
I think that I honestly think that this might be the start of a curse. I don't know what we did, to be fair, except bring Russell Wilson in.
Yeah, the curse of
Russ.
This
might be the curse of Russell Wilson.
Curse of Russ.
We should make a T-shirt or something.
Yeah.
I heard that's how all these podcasts make money.
I like
Shout out
that.
DNVR. I know you're still listening.
Yeah. Free ideas, baby.
I forgot what I was saying. I just don't.
And the Rockies, we're kind of a feeder podcast. You know, they just take our good ideas and feed them up to the majors.
Yeah, this roster sucks. I'm giving them an F, and I'm really not looking forward to this year. I am looking forward to being a closet Dolphins fan the whole time, though.
I mean, honestly, I don't care if you root for both teams. I just want you to root for the Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, I want good things. I'm going to talk myself into Bo Nix somehow.
God, I can't wait to talk myself into Bo Nix and predict us to win 10 games. I can't wait for that to happen.
We all know that it's
Raiders
going to happen too.
win,
Why do you
Ryan.
do this to yourself? I haven't done my. Oh man, that's
of errors.
Yeah. We'll see what happens in.
That's going to be the other thing that makes it hard to grade Peyton, because you're going to be like, well, we're worse than this team at every position, so we should lose. So if we lose by 7, does that mean he's doing a great job? Because we probably should have lost by 21. I don't know.
I don't think that makes it hard, though. I think it's. I'm not sure it's that hard to analyze. I think that when you draft Bo Nix, when you take that swing, you're graded now on Bo Nix. So he, as you mentioned, makes so much money that we're not going to be able to pin that solely on him. And Peyton will lose his job, I predict, after next year when Bo Nix looks like shit in the last 6 games of the year. Peyton will happily hand that chalice over to Peyton, and he will get. It's so hard with their last names. Sean will fire the GM, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
I think that's not going to turn out well for him.
If you told me that one of these teams won a championship and it was the Denver Broncos, I would faint in the next 5 years. I would literally faint. And then I'd get so excited because that means we have, Bo Nix is dirty. It means he's really good.
In the next 5
years, that's the only way.
No, I think you could be a little bit more glass half full about it. Because think about how bad the Rams were before they won that Super Bowl. The NFL, if you do say F them picks like the Rams did, and we already did, so we kind of.
But the Rams were in a Super Bowl 2 years before with Goff, right? And he peed down his leg against Belichick. But
they were terrible that year before. I guess they were terrible that year before.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just think the NFL does turn around quickly if you can draft well. That's the key is can you pick up cheap, good players that then you can develop? And we just have shown zero way to do that. The last time we won a championship was Peyton Manning's corpse. So we haven't developed anybody in a decade or more.
Yeah. No, it's pretty bad. All right. Let's get to the sad sack team of the franchise. Our littlest brother, the Colorado Rockies. This isn't going to take me long. The ownership is an F. Okay, they're the worst owners. We've gone over it many times. They just hire yes men from within, because anyone with half a brain can tell that they are functional morons. And so their only interview question is, do you think I'm the stupidest person on earth? And if the person says yes, they don't hire them. And if the person says maybe, they get a second interview. And if the person says no, instantly hired. And that's how we've hired our last general managers. And surprisingly, it's not working out. So, yeah, this ownership group is shit. I hope they sell the team. Monfort sucks. Yeah.
It's an F from me as well. However, I will give the caveat that they get a B plus as real estate developers. Which is their actual gig. And I personally hate McGregor Square and that they're tearing down that jazz club. I think they're real pieces of shit. And making my city look like fucking Dallas. But yeah, they're terrible at owning a baseball team. They've never been good at it, and they never will be good at it. They will only luck into success. So they're also never going to sell the team. So we're just doomed.
Yeah, I just wanted to give you a shout out for working in a dig at Dallas. I like that from you. F you, Dallas. How dare you be in the Western Conference Finals in both sports? Screw you. Okay.
Who are you rooting for in that Western Conference series, by the way? Just give me your 2 cents.
Everyone to step on a Lego and not be able to play. That's what I'm rooting for. I
immediately texted a group chat that I'm in who asked me how I felt about the series that I said that nobody wins. I hope nobody wins.
Yeah.
So,
all right. This one is the hardest one to analyze for me. Coach or manager, as they're called here. I have no idea if he's good or not.
Do you want me to go first?
Our whole team sucks.
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, sure, go first.
I'll go first. He gets an F too.
What?
The whole franchise sucks. He pinch ran our best pitcher on third.
I did forget about that.
The guy is in the. It starts at the top and it trickles all the way down. This is truly Reaganomics of a franchise. The idiocy is just. It must be contagious in that building because it is. I went to a homecoming there, and trust me, I felt dumber afterwards.
You're probably right. Okay, I'm going with you on F because if you had other options other than the Rockies, like who's that? The Savannah Bananas. Being a general manager, being the manager for them has to be better than being the Rockies. Like,
well, Bud Black doesn't have a personality though, so he can't be. Savannah's too fun for him. He'd have to perform.
But no, I think that would be great. What if Bud Black was just played it straight, and he just was fucking mad every game at the Savannah Bananas?
He wouldn't be playing. He would be like, "I don't get the joke. Will you just swing?"
And then they could put a banana peel out there, and he would be running to try to stop him and slip on the banana peel every game. So yeah, you're right. Anyone who would willingly work for Monfort must have no other options in life. You truly down on your luck sort of situation. Or he has the best work-life balance. Because he's like, dude,
it's the greatest job in sports.
He's like,
dude.
I just drink every day in the dugout.
It's like being a college coach for an athletic director that doesn't care except you get paid MLB money. Yeah. There's no oversight. I want to see his credit card bills. I want to see his expense.
A lot of shooters, Ryan. Those hotel bars are not safe because if you had 162 games with this team, you can't be sober for it. There's no way. And then the roster is an F-. It's absolute trash. Yeah, we're unbelievably bad. I don't get super excited about anybody. I'm starting to talk myself into Gombor. I'm kind of starting to feel a little sort of way. Not that he's actually going to be good here, But like, I might get excited about him on the Yankees or Red Sox in a few years in the playoffs and be like, hey, we used to have him. And that sort of a way. So, yeah, this team's a dumpster fire.
Yeah, my favorite player, unfortunately, has been sent down due to knee inflammation in Nolan Ryan, or what's his name? Nolan Jones. Nolan is my favorite player because
probably did try to hire Nolan Ryan. he's like, I heard of this pitcher, Nolan Ryan. This guy really throws heat. I was watching some film on him the other day.
Nolan loves to strike out, and I love to bet on it. So that's why he's my favorite player. I just looked it up. He was in AAA. I hadn't seen him on the roster, so I hadn't been betting on any Rockies games. And I just saw that his rehab was halted due to right knee soreness. So I don't know if he's going to be making it back up.
Swinging big and missing. You'll love to see it. All right. That's the podcast. Hopefully we brought some joy to you.
I wish this was like the actual State of the Union where we got like raucous applause throughout this, and it was actually like 2.5 hours long, and then there would be like
we would have
like
made
a
some
Dallas
headlines.
fan booed me.
I think with some of our statements here, but you know what? Shoot or shoot. And I hope that we brought a little joy into this dark time as a Colorado sports fan, and know that we're going to get through it together. And we have two really good teams,
sports fans,
and we have two really funnily bad teams. And one of them plays in a beautiful stadium where you can go for really cheap. So buck up. You could live in Dallas, and your life would be way worse. So be thankful that you live in beautiful Colorado, and we'll talk to you next week.
Except if you're from Dallas and you live in Denver. Don't be thankful. We hate you. Go home. Bye.
Blucifer Brothers is a Crab Shell Media podcast.